guys, it's Rachel again with Host Lease. This is probably the biggest thing that everyone wants to know. How much money can I make, right? That's what we're in this for. We're all in this to make money. You gotta love hospitality, you gotta love people, you gotta be interested in design in some capacity, but how much money are you gonna make? So I like to explain this just using what has worked for me really well is the 1-bedroom unit model. I've done it a lot of different ways, and the 1-bedroom unit works really well because it's the best comp to a hotel room in my market. And I host a lot of conventioners, a lot of tourists, and so they're kind of typically looking for that 2 to 3 night stay. But with that being said, that model also transfers to the midterm rental model. So someone who's staying longer than 30 days. The best example would be a travel healthcare professional. So depending on which type of model you use, if you want to go the short-term route or the midterm route, the revenue will change a little bit. So I typically do short-term rentals. It's a bigger profit margin, but the asterisk to that is it is more work. So really understanding how much you want to put into this will then determine your revenue goals, okay? So with a short-term model, you can have a higher nightly rate because you're turning it over more. You'll have additional cleaning fees per stay, so that adds to your revenue piece. With a midterm rental, you're just checking in the person, the guest, one time. So you're only going to have that one cleaning fee, and then the rate for a month stay is going to be less. So for example, during 2020, when the COVID pandemic hit, nobody really knew what was going on. It was a lot of pandemonium, just a crazy time of life, right? Travel healthcare professionals were totally in demand, and there was actually low inventory for the midterm rental because everyone was kind of hunkering down. So at that time, these healthcare professionals were getting paid like at the top of the pay scale, probably even over. So we were able to increase our rates based on lack of demand. It was a great time. I always like to just point that out because some people will talk about the midterm rental and be like, oh, you could just host travel nurses, which you can. There is a steady demand for healthcare travelers, but their rates are lower. So their rental, the amount that they can pay every month or that they're willing to pay every month is a little bit lower. Still a nice spread, but I always want to point that out to just kind of keep it real. The other option for the midterm rentals, there's a lot of people that need bridge housing, whether it be they sold a house and closed and have about 30 days where they can't, are moving into their next property or they're still looking. So there's lots of longer term stays opportunities out there that fall under the midterm rental category. So with that being said, what you've been waiting for is the money piece, right? So in my experience, I've been doing this about 5 years. 1-bedroom unit on the short-term side, I make typically anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 per month. Is that going to be? That nightly rate can vary. If you have a high demand event in your town, your property, your nightly rates are going to be much higher. I highly recommend using a pricing tool. I use Price Labs, and that's a video for another day. But I highly recommend that so that you're keeping your rates right on with your competition and the hotel market. So typically a 1-bedroom unit, $1,500 to $2,000 a month. For a midterm rental, like I said, it's a different scale because someone's staying for 30 days. So the nightly rate is going to be lower. And typically on those units, about $1,000 per month is what you can make. And I find that percentage, that amount, it probably translates from market to market. It's what I've experienced very consistently the 5 years that I've been hosting. So trying to understand if the midterm or the short term or even a hybrid is right for you is really important in figuring out what your revenue could be. The other thing is if you're looking for this to do this part-time, well, your revenue goals might be a little bit different. If this is kind of something that you want to do to replace some income or take a little pressure off your finances, your calculations might be a little bit different. Your thought process might be a little bit different. If you're doing this with the goal to leave your 9 to 5, as I did, then you can do that math and understand that, like, hey, say if I make $60,000 a year now, well, then I'm probably going to need between 4 to 6 units to replace that income. So just really getting clear about what your goals are, then figuring out what type of rental you want to do, either the short term or the midterm, and then putting pencil to paper, and kind of calculating out what all those costs are going to be to figure out the end profit. So if you're interested in learning more, check out our school channel. You click the links below for our free training and subscribe to our YouTube channel.